watched them leak photos of sitting out files of President Trump. Where's the photos of President Biden's documents? Where are those photos at? He knowingly knew this happened going into election, going into interviews. This is what makes America not trust their government. You cannot have one form of law because somebody philosophically has a different opinion than you, and you can't use the Justice Department to go after people that are politically different as well. It has to be equal across.
Well, I want to bring in Rina Shah now, a political advisor and commentator in Washington. Welcome to you, Rina. We were just hearing there from Speaker McCarthy, essentially characterizing this as a double standard. But doesn't a lot of this come down to how serious the documents are?
Well, I think what we see in Washington right now is a tough week, which essentially tells us that we've got two different cases here between former President Trump's classified documents being in his private possession and now President Biden's former classified documents, documents that were classified, formerly being in his possession and now being revealed. Again, two very different cases, but very much still a mess for President Biden this week.
As you say, nevertheless, this will be problematic. It will be a headache and there will be an investigation. So how damaging do you think this could be potentially for President Biden?
Well, I think first let's look at who's in charge of finding the truth here. Finding out why these documents were found in a garage in Wilmington, Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware, of course, is the hometown of President Joe Biden. And of course, here in Washington, D.C., they were first located at a think tank, the Penn Biden Center, where President Biden went after his VP tenure in the Obama White House. So we are looking at the Department of Justice. All eyes are on Merrick Garland. And I think some of what he said today by appointing this special person to investigate, this was a very good move by Garland. But I think looking at Capitol Hill, looking at our legislative branch, with this which is tasked with essentially checking our executive branch, we hear from Speaker McCarthy some good points that this will sort of shake the trust of Americans in a way, to find out not only former President Trump had classified documents, but to find out when Biden was VP, he also had classified documents. It draws one big question in the minds of many average Americans. It's how is it that when our VP and our president go to private life, that they can take with them classified documents? That is an answer we're all looking for. And how they were stored and why they were stored is also something that will come out, I believe, in the coming weeks.
As you point to there, Rina, all eyes now are going to be on Merrick Garland and how this investigation is handled, with accusations of the Department of Justice, for example, not being even-handed. Do you think the Department of Justice will be able to do enough in this investigation to restore the trust of Americans, or do you think minds are already made up here?
Well, let's make no mistake. The Department of Justice is being even-handed by coming out and announcing a special investigator from the Department of Justice. Merrick Garland is doing the right thing, showing the equal application of justice already, that we will not just investigate one former president, we will investigate a former VP as well. Nobody is above the law in these United States. Our Constitution says so. Now, here we sit in a moment where, yes, trust in the American public writ large, in our electorate, is shaken. The trust we had in our institutions has certainly declined over the years, but it doesn't mean that we can't get the answers that we're due. These are public servants. They worked for us. There's no reason, almost sort of from common sense, that they would need these classified documents in their private life, unless they went to their personal libraries or such. But again, these are all open-ended questions. We don't know what was contained in these documents. I don't even believe we'll ever learn, the public will ever learn what was in the classified documents that Trump had at Mar-a-Lago, or the ones that Biden's lawyers are now saying were found, again, at Penn Biden Center in D.C., and at Wilmington, Delaware. That is just not something that makes its way down to the average American. But here we sit in a moment where we're really mystified, because this is not something that's come up in the modern era. So I hope our leaders will do the right thing and continue to investigate thoroughly and give us some answers.
As you say, Rina, this is a new situation. We have seen in the last couple of hours Republicans saying, you know, how is this not different to the case with Trump? And I just want to pick your brain on this. If they draw those parallels with Trump, do they not also risk undermining a case for Trump in 2024?
Well, that is a very good question. Here we are in a moment where it's the top of 2023. The table is already being set for the presidential election in 2024. And so one must wonder that what do congressional Republicans, those in the Senate and the House, think of Trump? They really, in their leadership ranks, they're not very fond of Trump. Look, I mean, this is a situation where we saw the midterms just pass and Trump's candidates didn't do very well. There are leaders in Congress who don't want to see Trump run again. They think he brings too many problems with him. So if they want to draw parallels where there aren't any, they're almost doing so at their own peril. Because I think the best thing to do here is to say, let's let our top law enforcement, leaders in law enforcement at the Department of Justice do their job, do it independently. But let's also make the case that we will check them as is their constitutional duty to do. And again, I'm talking about lawmakers in Congress. They should not protect Trump. They should not shield him from anything because he's not sitting in office anywhere right now. Yes, he's announced his presidential 2024 run, but there are huge distinctions between the FBI raid that got those documents that were at Mar-a-Lago and what's happening right now with Biden. The very biggest distinction is that that raid happened after months of the Department of Justice as well as our National Archives asking Trump nicely to turn them over. So he was compelled to give them, whereas now Biden, his team is voluntarily giving these documents. Again, a very huge distinction this week.
Absolutely, an important precision there to make. Rina Shah, political advisor and commentator, joining us from Washington, D.C. Great to get your insights, Rina. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.